Okay, there we go. Woohoo! We'll see how, we'll turn more lights off once we get people in. We'll see if this needs to be moved up a little bit at some point, maybe. Who knows? Or we could perhaps put this. Let's see how this goes. Is this an effective way to see everything? We'll find out. We will find out. If I am over here, can it still see me? Can I do this?
Can it hear you?
I'm pretty sure it can hear me because it's making little dots. The dots are the indication that I'm heard. Not whether or not I'm listened to, but I am heard apparently. All right.
The Chess Society, did you say?
So if you guys want to join and you haven't signed up on the regular things to get Slack access, this is how you get Slack access.
Is that blue or is that white?
No, that's off. So it should be good.
And as part of this, I'm going to try and answer questions that people have during the presentation as well. So we're going to go with best for Epson. And then where is my display arrangement? Okay.
There we go.
I'm going to do this. Okay, displays.
Give us a guess.
Do not mirror my displays. Whoa! Okay. Let me just turn this into
Oh, that's good.
holy crap now. Okay, so this is what? Okay, display.
It should come up. It should. That's for a.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why is it
That's
still showing scaled the other displays? Oh, nope, it's just got my stuff all over the other side. You guys probably don't need to be seeing that. What's a freaking out, bro? Okay, I'm gonna do this thing. Why is it saying I can't close it? Why can't I close it? I hate you. Yes. Sorry. I shouldn't say things like that.
Or it's ignoring you.
It is totally ignoring me. Thank you very much, thing. All right, it's getting a force close. Go ahead. Oh, don't save. Don't save anything. Don't save. Don't save. Don't save. I don't need any of those. And I also don't need the work email in there. Or Spotify. You don't need to know about my listening habits.
Has it come up?
Now you know way too much about me.
Can you bring up that one that got Slack channel sign up?
Assume it does.
Yes, I can. Just a second. I did go. Study jams, getting started. That is not the thing that I wanted. Alright, let's go close that. Uh-oh, where did all my stuff go? Where did my display window that had my things on it go? Let's do displays again. And then mirror them for some reason. So that I can try and find where all my windows went. My windows disappeared for some reason.
See, you probably get the light on the metal left.
What is going on with, where did my Chrome window go?
It can hang up on that.
That's not the one I wanted. That is, okay, this is good. So, instruction, yes. This,
Something happened.
Display.
Let's guess.
Maybe that this goes. Yay. It's doing things.
Did someone else in here sign up on the DMS-guest network and have to enter the password? What's that? You didn't get a password prompt either?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. Normally there's a password prompt.
Sam, you are much more in the position to do that than I am.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Stan,
Yeah, move.
what's your suggestion with this guy? Tried to sign on to DMS-guest.
It worked.
Didn't get a password prompt. But on the internet, which was necessary for him today.
Right. We do have pizza coming. Yay. Food. Good. Happy times. With food. Got a mix of veggie and not veggie. Some chicken. Pepperonis. Let's see if I can plug this guy in just so that it doesn't die while we're broadcasting. What else we got?
No.
Now, if you don't have a laptop, we do have laptops that you can use as part of DMS, but hopefully you do. Oh, we have a member. Okay. Yeah, maybe not so much on that. Okay. Let's see if this does the things.
You may have to plug in where you can.
All right, and I am going to probably share a link to these slides as well. So let's do. I'll share. Need a link. So if you are on the Slack channel, you now have a link to these slides. Yay! Everybody gets a link. You get a link. You get a link instead of bees. Oh, everybody's like getting here.
What was the name of the Slack?
What?
The Slack channel, what's the name of it?
I mean,
DFW-studychance.slack.com.
yes, and you can hit request and I can answer it. So if you want to request access, where's the,
What? Cups and things, plates?
cups and plates?
Yeah. Didn't have cups in the house either.
We had plates. We had paper plates. I promise. Hot and fresh pizza, everybody.
I like this table,
What?
but I like this table. It's just there's no charger.
Yeah.
I just yanked it in from the other room. So
I'm gonna scoop this.
I tell you, I just yanked it in from one of the other rooms.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So charge, plug in where you can, or you can find another power strip over there. In the other
So-
room.
Cord long enough to go over here, I can unplug this one.
I don't know. It's about as long as this table, I think.
Need
Oh, it is.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thanks
I don't
to
even know if my
you
cord
getting
was up.
paper towels and other such things. All right, so we have mushroom and sausage. I'll put meats next to meats and veggies next to veggies. All right, this is meat. They're all different, so. All right, that's veggie. This is also veggie.
It's just
All
how
right,
you
we got
enter that right
plates. We have cups.
No cups yet. Have to go to Walgreens or something.
Okay, that'd be lovely. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so we got 2 veggies. This is chicken. So, and that's cheese. So those are all veggie.
Android?
Android, yeah.
And we've got pizza.
Oh, sweet.
So
Oh my lord.
this on the side.
Oh, that's
You know, it might have some cups out of that. Might have some cups out of my van.
That'd be great. And paper plates right over here. Veggie and cheese over here. So cheese and veggie. This is mushroom and olive. The other one is green pepper and tomato. Let's just do this. So
Hey, Chad. I
this
just
one
need
is
email.
chicken and green pepper. Just because you get a little sick of just pepperoni, cheese.
Over there, DSM.
Basic.
Yes.
I think that one may not be working.
Oh.
Something on the bottom one, the DMS member singular,
Oh,
and then the DMS dash
Oh.
1
Oh.
thanks.
Plenty of heart attacks on us too. You guys want some dinner? Let's see you. All right. Everybody make sure you can.
It's DMS dot.
DMS dash 109238.
Man, we ain't slide out of it.
Oh, nice.
Grab some chow myself.
Welcome.
So after today, you don't, if you didn't know object-oriented programming before today, you still kind of have a chance because we're not really going to go over the object-oriented portion of this until the second class. So go do a 1-hour intro to object-oriented programming after today if you have not already. Just explain some of the basic abstraction. It's not Java specific. That's the language that we use here in Android is a special version of Java. So that'll be easy. And they won. So, hey. I have a slides for just our introduction, but this is just while you guys are eating, introducing yourselves, talking over, because we're gonna do a hard stop in probably like 15, 20 minutes, let people roll in. And then that way we can get through stuff. So veggie, those 3 are veggie, these 3 are meat.
Yeah. Would you save that Slack post was?
Yeah, let me pull it up again. Slack invite.
Team domain.
Let me pull it up for you guys.
I can't bounce in with the team domain.
Yeah. So let me pull this up. So let's see if we can put this in a slide. All right, Slack.
You said didn't download.
All right.
Did you get the Android Studio down?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You should be good.
So if you haven't signed up,
I told you to.
Please do so.
Got a few cups.
So I'm gonna go ahead and say you guys have no excuses to miss, because we are having everything online. So if you can't make it for a day, you have both the online course we're going to be going through, as well as the ability to participate online exclusively. So we're trying to make it really easy for everybody to be able to join. There's about 10 people for this class that are fully remote. So that's very yay. So, hey, grab some food. If you haven't already, it's about half gone.
So we did this slide deck.
What? I posted it on the Slack channel. So this is why Slack is an important thing to be on, because we're going to share all the resources and links. Because I don't know about you guys, but I get a couple hundred emails a day just from my personal email and not even work. So filtering through emails kind of is a pain. Versus Slack, we can have immediate talking without having any interruptions. What's
You
up?
have to put the X dash all those numbers.
Yeah, that's if you didn't sign up via the form.
You need a URL shortener.
I do. I was just pasting from my email just now, so I can Bitly it.
Yeah, so that, I don't think takes you through.
Let's see what Bitly can do for me.
Yep.
Yeah, I put in the link, I sent you an email.
Because it only gives you a shareable link to invite people after you've invited so
Sorry, but it
many.
has like that, and it has
So-
at Logstar.com, whatever, so. At, Logstar.
Yeah, I got the same thing.
DFW
We're
stuff
forcing you to
here.
use one of those Monoguard.
Yeah.
DFW bell.
Not even.
Well, it's not letting it be entered or something beside one of those.
Live jam.
Yeah, I've
DFW
got the
Slack
same
jam,
thing.
That's what that is now.
Yeah, so do you just put in your email and then you get it?
Yeah, so I've got a URL shortener, so don't bother.
That URL is redirecting.
You are, so.
So I'm gonna do a Bitly, bit.ly/DFW Slack jam.
Just FYI, I think that one is redirecting you to a sign-up page that requires you to. use
I
that.
still have to, yes, it will prompt me, and then I will be able to add you.
Well, no, I'm saying the page, I think it redirects you to something that requires your email address to be Monoguard or SW Bell.
Yes, it's not doing what you intended to do.
Oh, interesting, weird, okay, never mind. It's weird, okay. So, they lied to me.
We'll just do L manual and let you approve.
Yeah, the best thing to do is to fill out the study jams response. So, the form that I had on this page, if you fill this out, I can quickly add you to the Slack channel, which has all of the hangouts and everything else.
And to sidetrack you one more time, I think on the DMS calendar, I think we still have the July 5th.
Yeah, I asked, what's his name, who's the new head, to remove that event.
Okay, I saw it right.
Yeah, because I requested that like every Tuesday as a repeat, and then, but not that particular day. So,
I'll go check care of that.
oh, you have admin rights on that?
Yep.
Oh, sweet.
I just don't have that memorized on me, but.
Never mind. Get some soda, guys. I got like a pile of soda.
Thinking of my sauce stand.
We have a cup, oh, okay.
And we got cups. Courtesy of Stan.
Yes.
It's cold.
You put in that. Yeah, like the Google Docs for it. Do that real quick. If I can-
Yeah, it's a form.
Email?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We got plenty of heart attack sauce if you like the heart attack sauce.
This? Okay, I took care of the July 5 on Google Calendar.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, you can.
You guys want?
Yeah, whatever the spot is, miss, whatever. That'd be cool. Thanks, Ron.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't want to take anything home.
All right, I just submitted. Stacy, I went ahead and spit it on
Oh,
you if
okay.
you want to have me. And I'll jump
Showed
into
up.
Slack. Brian? Good deal.
All right, we have a few more. Perfect. What just happened?
Sorry about that.
Oh, I thought it was me. I'm cutting my audio. I don't trust myself. You guys don't need to know what else I'm into. It's my work. This one's my work computer, so. You know. Alright, so. Got more peoples. And add another. Right, so.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Right. So everybody should have gotten theirs sent to their email if you filled out the form. I've thus far got 50 responses. So. Okay, totally fit. No. Ow. Alright, I'm turning it off until we hit the class, which will start momentarily. Did anybody have difficulty getting in, or? No, that's not veggie. Those three were veggie. That's chicken. And if you have any dietary restrictions beyond vegetarian, please let me know, because I know that this still has cheese. So if you're vegan, not so much. I'm gonna go check on the front.
Well, it's more than just job, it's also.
Cool, I got it.
Sitting behind you to grab your pizza, I think.
Yeah, there's just a couple slices left.
That works for me.
Chicken and green peppers. So next week I'm planning on having Subway. Does that sound good? I just couldn't get my catering in soon enough for Subway. You're for a minimum 24 hours notice. How crazy is that?
So we're good?
Yeah.
No, but just, I don't want the long sandwich. I was looking for just the catering plates. Pre-cut. I don't want to cut 16 pieces of sandwich.
Cold cuts and fixed it.
I don't think we want to go too like. Yeah, I have some money from Google for like a few $100. So. But that was from a different thing.
Because you've got meetup admin privilege still, right?
Yep.
The July 5 class needs to be taken off of meetup.
No. The Epson, it's just weird. Is it normal for that Epson to like go in and out like that?
Hook that bulb, is it going out again soon?
I do too.
Thing is expensive. Did we already go through a bulb? I'd imagine so. It's been a couple of
It's
years.
been through 3 bulbs.
3 bulbs?
Yeah. And
Dang.
the last one was a couple months old with that.
Someone left it on for a long time.
Well, there is that recurring problem, yes.
So this looks like it was replaced fairly recently. So last time I was in here, it was like.
Well, I guess it's a good thing. It gets a lot of use then, right?
It is a popular piece of equipment.
Well, it's a popular thing to do, you know, teach classes here at UMass.
The big screen.
And also like Saturday night gaming and such.
And animation.
That is also a thing.
They removed from the
Notification in a while.
How you doing?
Hello.
Hello.
The pizza's gone. It's not us. Well,
Where's your computer? Sorry, you have to wait.
so next time if we're gonna have kind of these numbers, we'll try and get some tables in here. But we had 60 people signed up, so that was kind of like.
Did everybody get properly drinkified, or should I run and get some more cups? Yeah, 6 cups left.
Alright. Everybody join the Slack channel.
Well, I'll keep checking on it anyway.
Tell me why.
You throw this away.
All right, here, look at my info studio. Yeah, kind of.
sorry.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right, no worries. No harm, no foul.
You didn't have anything, not even object oriented. So she did not, like, when she was like, just going to show. But still. So.
Again, whoever wants heart attack sauce. The garlic and butter. That's all it is. Just garlic and butter with extra salt.
I'm not to sign you up or what?
Fill out the form so I can put you on the Slack channel and for tracking purposes and whatnot.
Yeah, I opened the email, so I got
The other benefit is this will give you 24-hour access to help and resources. We've got a couple of professional and other professional and developers that are going to be on as well. So, like if I'm not on, which I'm on all the time, somebody else can help you with questions that you might have.
Oh, what if you already did this?
What?
What if you already did this?
The form?
Yeah.
You're good. What's up, sir?
On the dates, it says, June 21st to June 20th. On the bill side,
They're on, it's on every, so this Tuesday, next Tuesday, but not July 5th, because everybody's going to be a little meeting of recovery. We're probably gone. And then every Tuesday from then on until August 9th. Most of the second will be spent on finishing final apps, like more in-person help and workshop stuff, as well as special topic. And the 9th will be presentations and prizes. What? You can win things. Guarantee everybody will win something, but that doesn't mean that you win the awesome things.
Everybody's a winner?
It could be like $2. Could be stickers. But you could also win hundreds of dollars.
Or a really big sticker.
Or a really big sticker.
How about a pixel book?
I don't know about that. I've got stuff donated from various corporations and whatnot and then some other things that have been sitting in. So we'll have like probably 5 or 6 different categories and like first and second win stuff. So like we'll try to make it really fun and easy and
Please scroll up. Yes, all meeting lists are in this platform. This is the link that you
so let's go to present.
This was really, yeah.
So how y'all doing today? Happy? In the air conditioning? Yay, everybody wins. Of course, somebody has to know it. So who am I? I'm obviously wearing that form of pink in some way today. But pink's not my favorite color. It's actually purple. There might be a place later. So my name's Stacy. I'm your main instructor for this course, and I'm the senior person on the Android team for Home Depot. I'm also the Dallas-Fort Worth lead for Women Tech Makers, and one of the GDG organizers. By that I mean Google Developer Group, which is what this is being held under. So this is actually a Google Developer Group thing, not a Women Tech Makers thing. They're actually one and the same. So Women Tech Makers is more about diversity and outreach in tech. So I work on the consumer mobile app and also internal product innovation. So I get to come up with cool stuff and invent it. It's probably about 20-30% of my time, usually. It's supposed to be 50%, but I've been kind of crunching on some new stuff with the application. So I work on the consumer mobile app, the pro app, as well as internal app. So there's a Home Depot app that only Home Depot app people see, I guess. And Six Sigma Black Belt, I got that here actually. Intel Innovator, so that's you make stuff. Intel, says, hey, I'll give you free things, and you can post about them. And DMS member, Vintage Game Collector and Restorer. That includes pinball, arcade, and really old consoles, really old computers, that kind of stuff. So, and my contact info is also on here. So if you want to get a hold of me privately outside of Slack, this is where to go. So things you should have had if you got the emails last night, but there's still time to do this today because, again, this is the first course. So we're not going to go super as in-depth as we are in the rest of the series. So what are we going to do here? We need the Android SDK. Why do we need the Android SDK? Because we're going to build an app. So we need the resources to be able to build that. So that would be a combination of the IDE, Integrated Development Environment, I'm saying a lot of words, and SDK basically just means the stuff you need to make the environment work. So this gives you all-in-one, and you'll probably want to get one of the emulators as well. It'll guide you through some helpful hints and instructions as part of going to that link. And then also the JDK. You can use OpenJDK for those who are a little more savvy, but Oracle JDK 8 is the most modern that is supported. So that's the one we're going to go with for this class. If you have JDK 7, doesn't matter, it still works. For what we're going to do, it's the same thing. So if you have never programmed before, you have zero programming experience, we're going to go and do this object-oriented programming. It's not going to be a big issue for today, but if you have absolutely zero programming experience, which this class is also targeted to, please just do the 1 hour intro, just read through it, go through how they explain how things work. It's not going to be the same. It's not any language that's specific to what we're doing. It's just an overall about the concepts and how that works in terms of object-oriented programming. And then also sign up for this course. So this is how you actually get signed up on Udacity for the homeworks and the other pieces that you're going to need to actually do this. Now, you don't have to hit the pay for link, which is in blue. You want to hit the link right below it that says preview or view for free. Udacity courses are offered, especially for this thing, online for free for you to be able to use as part of a Google sponsorship without having to pay, but you don't get a certificate. And the support you get is from us and not from Udacity. So that saves you, they're like a couple $100 a month, and if you're going for their micro degree, it's like $2,000. So this is actually the first third of getting that micro degree. So if you wanted to go further, you can. Dates and join us online. So let me make sure that actually is the 27th. I have it listed up here. So we're actually going to be this I apparently can't read numbers. So that's actually the 28th. Then we're gonna go in and fix it. Fudge. Go back. This is actually the 28th. So next Tuesday we'll be meeting as well. And then we have July 12th, 19th, and 26th. Remember that the 2nd and the 9th are going to be the 2nd is going to be workshop. 26th, we're going to target doing some, either whatever we didn't finish in the first 4 classes, but also to be able to go through a special topic of your choice, which if you filled out the form, we had some listings if there's a special topic that you would like for us to cover. But we can also send out another form if you guys want, once you learn a little bit more, hey, what's something that you guys would maybe want to learn about that would fit with your skill level. And then the 9th will be presentations as well as prizes. We get to vote. It'll all be secret voting. Nobody will put their name on it. You'll win things. Everybody wins something. It just might be stickers, but you could win, stuff worth some real money as well. So, yeah, everybody's getting there. So if you haven't filled out the form that I just referenced earlier, this is the form. This is the form that tells me who you are, why you want to do this, as well as like your email. And you can put whatever username you want to go to or whatever email you want it to go to. I don't need a name. I just need to know how to get a hold of you in case I want to send an update or you get a Slack invite or anything else like that. Because a few of you guys signed up on the form and had emails that bounce, so you didn't get a Slack invite. So it'd be good to be a part of the group. So what is our goal for this? We want to complete an app that has 5 things. We're calling it a 5 things app, minimum. There is no maximum, but do not be the guy with 37 pieces of flair. Because I can tell you the 37 pieces of flair, especially if you're starting out, is not going to turn out well. It's going to be overcomplicated. You really want to drill down to what is the most important things that you want your app to do and focus on simplicity as well as something that looks good and performs a simple task for you. And then here we have another form to fill out. I'm so sorry, everybody, but this is that 5 things app so that we have an idea of like what you want to build. We can help you pare it down to what idea might potentially be best or how big of scope you can go given your experience level. And also tells us, at the end, where did you start and where did you end, right? So that'd be great if you could just fill that out for me, yes, at some point over the next week before the next class, just so we kind of know what kind of topics people are interested in as well. And then vocab to pay attention to. So you're going to see some things today that you're going to want to know what they are. And we also have this Android vocab word dictionary that's interactive with code samples and other things. We want to know text view, image view, view group, linear layout, relative layout, and view hierarchy. Those are the things to pay attention to for today. And then that is all I have as far as the formal presentation goes. So what we also have as part of this group is a forum. So if you're having problems and it may not be something that can be easily solved, or maybe it's something that has been solved before, this is a good place to post about it, as well as look at things on Stack Overflow. If you're a programmer and don't know what Stack Overflow is, or a college student, become familiar very, very quickly and get on it. So that's a good place to go. And then I believe we're ready to start.
So Catherine, we've been working on this course for a while.
I know, Kunal, and it's about to launch, so I'm really excited.
Right. It's been a couple of months that we've been designing this course, and I want to be in perfect sync with you around who the learner or the student of this course is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think the learner is someone who's never programmed before.
Wait, when you say never, do you mean no lines of code?
0.
0 lines of code.
Yeah.
Wow, that's going to be a tough course for us to design, but it's going to open up the gambit for everybody
course,
to take
there's
this.
a Hokie
Absolutely. I think that's why it's so powerful. Because at the end of this course, I think they should be able to build a couple of simple Android apps.
Wait, let's backtrack a little bit. So we're saying no lines of code, no programming experience, but we're still saying you need a computer and you need an internet connection.
Yeah, and to have some familiarity with using a computer and a smartphone.
So you browse the internet, let's say on a smartphone or a computer.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's say this is where the student is right now.
Okay.
Right? And this is where a professional Android developer is, right? This is where they're making apps, they're making money, they're changing the world.
Okay.
Let's say this is where we will get them at the end of our course.
I think we can get them to here.
Okay, so in this journey that the student is taking with us, what sort of apps are they building here?
Yeah, so the first app is a birthday card app.
Wait, you said first app, so there's more than one app?
Yeah, so first there's a birthday card app where they can make it for someone
I like
they love.
Right. People have birthdays, sometimes they even have half birthdays.
Yeah, and the second app should be a coffee ordering app.
So you say, I want 2 cappuccinos, and 2 cappuccinos appear magically from the phone.
Not quite, but it captures what the user wants to order, and then it sends it off in the email.
Okay, so in this journey that we've been sort of dreaming up, how long will it take the student so they can budget their time appropriately?
Hopefully 20, 25 hours.
I think that's about right. You know, it'll take a lot of deliberate practice. They'll make a couple of fun apps. But what they can do is they can take this 25 hours and split this up into 4 to 5 weeks worth of their time.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
So that's as much about the course and about us. At this point, I want to ask our students a question.
Tell us about a time when you were learning something new and you had to struggle.
Okay, if we're going to ask our students to share their vulnerable stories on the internet,
Yeah.
we have to lead by example.
Okay, fair enough. You go first.
Okay. Well, I've been learning to play the piano for about 8 months.
Oh, okay.
And the toughest bits for me have been, you know, getting one hand right and then getting the right hand right and then putting those 2 things together. But when it comes out, it's just so beautiful. It's like, ta 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 ta.
Wow, that sounds really good.
I've been playing with my friends. It's really fun.
Wait, you don't play for me.
Well, we'll see. Stay friends till the end of this course.
Okay, then.
Your turn.
All right. I've struggled with learning Chinese my whole life.
Wait, you speak Chinese?
Yeah. 你好，我叫李秀贤. Big deal. So I think the hardest part of learning Chinese has been trying to learn all the vocab words and trying to put them together in complete sentences without tripping up.
You know, this story of yours is reminding me that learning how to make an Android app is like learning a new language.
Okay, I can see
So you're learning a new vocabulary and you're putting those things together and, you know, programming sentences and creating an app. Okay, well, those are our stories. Now I want our students to share their vulnerable stories. Tell us about a time when you learned something new and it was a struggle.
Okay, so you don't have to tell me about a struggle, but I would like for everybody to introduce themselves so that they can give a little bit of context, what's your experience level in terms of programming, and you know, what thing are you looking to do with this course? And we'll start with you, sir. Just say hi, name, programming level.
Hi, my name is Sydney. The principal said I'm a front-end web developer, mainly using JavaScript, HTML, CSS. What I'm trying to get out of this course is to build a walking app, so I'm hoping to get that accomplished.
Stan?
My name's Stan
Sorry.
Simmons. I'm kind of a fixture here around the space, spend far too much time here. I haven't done any real programming since 1999 in COBOL. My first language was Fortran, so this is going to be a little bit different for me. And I'm going to try to make a little app to help make things a little smoother around the development.
Right, I'm Manas, and the only programming experience I have is straight computer science. So I'm looking forward to making an app here that I can use to play games when I'm bored.
I'm Brian Ramsey, IT guy career. Most recent programming was C#. Try to finish my college degree that started 19 years ago. I've done everything Perl, a little bit of Python. a couple other programming languages. So I'm looking maybe do some Android TV stuff.
My name's David Steele. I'm a mechanical engineer. I'm kind of like Stan. The last time I did any programming, it was in BASIC and Fortran, so it's been a few years. I'm just kind of curious about what we can do here, what it's all about.
Awesome.
I'm the second tool. I'm a Java web developer. Programming languages I done with is Java and
What are you looking to do?
Yeah.
Just learn? Just make something of it? Cool.
My name is Manoj Agarwal. I have some Java experience. Right now, I'm actually in the mobile PMO management for the apps. Just here to learn a little bit more about app development.
My name is Shilpa, and I'm Vietnamese.
I'm Matt. I guess I'm just, I don't really know a lot.
You don't have to look at me. I'm not. Everybody else is back there.
My phone once or twice, maybe, and then so. I'm trying. What I want to get out of this is an app to help me root it next time. It's HTC and HTC.
My name is Kay. I'm a college student at UTV, and I don't know anything about Android, so I'm just trying to learn. Like, I know a lot of other languages, but this is something else just to learn.
Hi, I'm Danielle. I also go to UTV, and I'm studying computer science right now, so I know mainly like Java and C++. And what I hope to get out of this course is to be more comfortable like using, like making Android apps. I've done a little bit, but I wouldn't say I'm comfortable.
My name is Kenny. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I've programmed in C++, a little bit of Java, and robotic language, things like that. And I really don't think that. And what I want to get out of this course is making app for my many little inventions.
My name's Chrissy. I have no programming experience, and that's why I'm here. I like, we need to look into things and see what I do.
Awesome. Glad to have you.
Hi, I'm Gus. I have the first degree in Java from decades back. I speak fluently. But I just want to kind of keep fresh on the new technology and playing with computers for so long.
Chad Bonner, electrical engineer. I've done some programming in Python and assembly mainly, and I'm just here just to learn something new.
I'm Bill G. My training is electrical engineering, but my experience is all programming. I've been doing it for a long time, but I want to learn how to do Android now, since that's one of the top things. I'm interested in casual gaming and want to sell kiosks iPads.
My name is Key. I'm a musician. I've coded from basic to assembly language, all for fun. I like making things do that they were designed to do.
Very cool.
Hi, my name is Faith. I'm a senior Android engineer in Verizon Communications team. So I'm here to like share my skills and everything. So just
Rhonda Hutchison. I am a WordPress and Joomla gal. So I'd love to learn how to actually write the code and so just put it all together.
John, basically along the lines of Stan, recently I've completed the Coursera Android 1 and 2 just to try to learn some Android.
My name is Sam. I have zero experience in this area. I'm excited about this. So this is how we
My name is Maggie. I'm a Java and .NET developer at a healthcare startup, and I don't know anything about making an app, so I wanted to learn how to make an app.
I'm a .NET developer. I basically want to demo skills out of it.
My name is Warren here. I've got 4 years of Java DB experience, but I'm coding for last 8 years almost. And now I'm working with an analyst. So I want to learn about Android application, how to develop Android app, and how to implement my ideas.
Thank you.
My name is Joe. I'm a .NET developer. I've been a .NET developer for about 5 years. And just wanting to learn how to create apps. Because, like you said, it's the hot thing. So I'm trying to get myself, situated.
Very nice. So everybody sounds like they're kind of coming from similar positions. Either they haven't programmed for a while, or they program in something totally different, or they haven't programmed at all, and this is a totally new way. I can tell you that because of the great tools that we have, Android's one of those things where you can start out from nothing and build something tangible, literally that you can hold in your hands in a relatively short amount of time. But it's one of those things that can take a lifetime to master. So there's a great amount of extensibility and other things that you can learn and do, and a lot of great community around it. If you look at the market proliferation right now, Android makes up, what is it, like almost like 3/4 of all mobile app use. I can tell you when I started, it was, 6.5 years ago? Literally, it was the new kid on the block, and I did iOS before it was actually called iOS, and before that it was like embedded Linux and stuff like that. So, right now you're coming in where everything's been built, and you don't have to be like this crazy coder kid to get started, which is fantastic, because that means that you guys are going to be able to have, at the end of this, 3 apps. They talked about the first one being a birthday card, the second being a coffee order, being that like you can take information about an order and send it to somebody's email. That's pretty cool, right? And then at the end, we're going to have a 5 things app, which is what that form is for. So we can get an idea of where we can help you. But again, do not put 37 things in your app. First off, you're going to make me feel awful and like an idiot. And secondly, it's going to be a lot of work and really hard to find, but really hard to debug if there's any issues or style changes that you want to do or more advanced things. So again, we'll keep going. So we're going to say that we learned something new and it was a struggle. But really what we did was learn about each other. And that was a struggle, right? Okay. Woohoo, thank you. Okay, next we're going to go through this. So here we're going to talk about some of the things that you're going to
we
be
just signed
learning.
up for a lot. We have so many things to teach them.
Yeah.
What should we cover?
Hold that thought. I need something.
Where are you going?
Here. This is for you.
Thank you.
Let's just pour out some beans.
What are you doing?
Well, these are not our beans, but let's just imagine they are for something.
Okay.
Okay. I just want to create a little coffee trail, which is going to be a symbol of the journey our students will take with us.
Okay, I like
So let's just say this is our student, and this is where they're beginning.
Oh, and then this can be where they end.
Right, which is where they're an Android developer.
Yeah.
Right, and we're focusing on just this part of our course right now, right? So this is where we are. So I'm just going to clean it out and zoom in into the main part of the course. Okay. Well, let's say there are 3 big lessons in this course.
Only 3?
Let's say there are 3 for now. Yeah. So this is lesson 1, 2, and 3. Let's talk about lesson 1. I'm just going to zoom in there and clear out the rest. Yeah. Well, split this further into 3 sections, and you might guess what my favorite number is at this point, which is 3. What is the first thing we should do in lesson 1?
I think they should learn about views.
Oh, views, things that you see on the phone. So like a checkbox, a radio button, an image, a text of some sort.
Yeah, exactly.
So we introduce them to that here. In the second part of lesson 1.
Then we can learn to customize those views.
Oh, okay. So you're changing the color of a font or the size of an image.
Exactly. Part 3, we should teach them how to position views on the screen.
So it's like bottom left or top right, or where is it going on the phone screen?
Yeah.
So let's begin at the beginning.
The first thing in Android you need to know is something called views.
Views.
Apparently he really likes to sing. Okay. Whoa, what did it just do? You clicked on something for some reason. Okay. Oh, vocab words. So I sent you that vocabulary glossary. And so, yay on that. In the original.
Step 1 is.
So in the original slide deck, sent you guys a link to the things to pay attention to for today. The vocab words, views, list view, view hierarchy, linear layout, relative layout, image view, text view. So now we're gonna get started with actually learning what those are. So we've had the intro, and now we're actually gonna do it.
About picking the views that you want to use. First, I should explain what exactly a view in Android is. Simply put, a view is a rectangle on the screen that shows some content. It can be an image, a piece of text, or a button, or anything else that the app can display. Now, these individual views make up what we call the layout of the screen. Everything about what you see and interact with in your app is called the user interface, or UI for short. There are different types of views with different names. A view that shows some text is called a text view. Here are some examples. A view that shows an image is called an image view, and these are some examples. A view that shows a button is called, well, a button, and these are some examples. Now, there are many other types of views in Android which are really helpful to use, but we're going to focus on these three first. Earlier, I mentioned that every view is a rectangle on the screen, but where are all the rectangles? Well, technically, they're invisible, but I will draw them for you so you can see where the bounds of each rectangle is. As you can see, every app can be broken down into the individual views that make it up. In other words, a view is the basic building block that you use to build up the layout for your app. To help you understand the idea of views being rectangles on the screen, here's a situation you may be more familiar with. If you ever use an application like Paint or Google Drawings, then you may have added a text box to the canvas. Then you type in your text. If you click outside of it, though, you don't see the bounds of the rectangle, but they are there. And bounds actually do start to matter when you start to do things like adding a background color or adding a border around it, then it does matter how big the rectangle is. I also want to point out that the format of these view names is in camel case. Camel case means that there are no spaces in between words, and the beginning of each word is capitalized. The reason why it's called camel case is because the outline of the word goes up and down like the humps of a camel's back. You're going to be seeing camel case more throughout this course. Okay, let's practice what you learned. This is a screenshot of the new email app from Google called Inbox. Can you identify the different types of views here? To help you, I've highlighted the individual views. For example, for A, can you tell me if it's a text view, an image view, or a button? Do the same for B, as well as the rest of the views.
All right, now we have something that we, as a group, need to figure out. Okay. So in A, do we have a text view, an image view, or a button? Raise your view. Everybody can shout it out together. Image view. All right, we win. Hopefully, we'll find out if we win. We may fail. B, what is it? Is it a text view, an image view, or a button?
Text view. Could be either, but.
Well, we'll go into this. Actions are things. So C, what do we have? A text view, an image view, or a button?
Text view.
Okay. And D, do we have a text view, an image view, or a button?
Text view.
And E, do we have a text view, an image view, or a button?
Button.
I heard some mumbling.
Button.
Okay, cool. Let's see if we got it all right. Yay, we win. Okay.
Let's go over the solution together. First, at the top of the screen, we have this blue envelope with a checkbox. This is an image, so this is what we call an image view. Next, we have...
I want to figure out why full screen is not available. Why is it not available? Okay, apparently it's been disabled. Weird.
These three pieces of text, and there are three different text views because they each have different font styles in terms of font size and font color. And they're also positioned in three different places on the screen. So we mark these as text views. The last one here is a button that the user can tap to sign in. So we choose button. Good job if you got those answers correct. But if not, no worries, we're going to practice some more. Now you know about a couple of different views, like text view, image view, and button that you can use in making Android apps. But now I have another challenge for you.
The YouTube challenge.
Okay, this is a screenshot of the YouTube app when you first come into it. Look at it for a moment, and can you imagine where the view bound would go? You can pause the video while you think for a second. Okay, so this is where I would draw them. And then now I want you to identify whether each of these views is a text view, an image view, or a button.
Okay. So class, together now. What is A?
Text view.
What is B?
Text view.
What is C?
Image view.
Could be a button.
Well, we'll go into some of the fancy things.
Image.
Okay, image view first, right? So D is what?
Button.
And E is what?
Button.
Let's see. Submit the answers. Yay! Didn't screw up. It's also nice. Oh, let's disable again. Thank you, Corsair.
You can play the snake game.
Okay, so looking at this screenshot, there are two text views at the top. And I can say this because they have two different text styles. For example, this one is a little bit bigger and a little bit bolder. And now we have the YouTube logo, which is this red icon. And so we use an image view to display it. And then last but not least, we have two buttons at the bottom that you can tap to skip or go to next. And we're done, so we can move on now.
Woohoo! We're gonna go to the next section. Not yet.
Hey, Kunal, what are you doing?
Oh, I just need a minute.
What you writing?
Well, why are you looking at my
I
emails?
just want to see what you're doing.
Okay, fine. I'm sending an email to a friend which has instructions on how to feed Chloe.
Who's Chloe?
Oh, Chloe's my office plant.
You name your office plant Chloe?
Yeah, Chloe for chlorophyll.
Clever.
Look, here it is.
Oh, okay. You know what this reminds me of?
What?
These instructions are similar to how we write code to tell a computer what to do.
You know, everything reminds you of how to write instructions or code, Catherine.
It does. But I'm serious, this time it does. It's
Okay.
sort of like here, this line where you're saying that you need to water the plant exactly on Tuesday at 10 o'clock.
Right, so when I'm giving specific instructions on Tuesdays and Thursdays, water the plant, or make sure the water is lukewarm, those specific instructions are like writing code.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you know how you're writing this letter in an email app?
Yeah, I'm using Gmail.
Good choice.
That's hard.
We also need a space to write our code.
Sure.
And that space is called an IDE.
What does that stand for?
It stands for Integrated Development Environment.
I am more confused after listening to the full form of that acronym when I heard the acronym.
Well, don't worry about what it stands for. In Android, all you need to know is that we're going to use Android Studio.
Is that on this computer, that software?
Yeah, it's right here. Let me show you.
Oh, and this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
You know, I must admit that this looks a little bit intimidating. It has a lot of buttons on it.
It is. There's a lot of things going on,
Yeah.
but we'll get there.
By the end of the course, the students will know how to operate this. Okay.
Cool. So back to your letter.
Okay.
Oh, you know how you're using English to write this letter?
Well, that's a great observation. I thought you said you were not reading my email, but yes, I am using English.
Okay. Well, we have to use a certain language to talk to the computer.
Sure.
To give instructions.
What are we using?
We're going to start with XML.
You know, Catherine, you're a fan of three-lettered acronyms, it seems. First IDE, now XML. What does XML stand for?
It stands for Extensible Markup Language.
Extensible markup language? What does extensible ML do?
It is a way to describe how your Android app is going to look.
Okay.
So we can use it to build layouts.
Okay, so where are you going to place things, what things you're going to place on the phone?
Exactly.
Okay, well, there's a lot going on in this video, so let's just do a quick recap, right? We're talking about how writing code is like writing instructions, really specific instructions, right? We're also talking about how we need a space in which to write that code.
And that space will be Android Studio.
And we also identified the programming language we will be using,
which is XML.
So let's write our first line of XML.
Yeah.
So I got grab a chair. Put it behind here so that I can use it. I can. Okay.
Okay, now we're going to start looking at code. This is going to be for the text view, which displays text on the screen. If I write this block of code, then the phone looks like this. Now, I know this may look a little funny to you, because it's not like the normal words and sentences that we're used to every day. We're going to go over this in a little bit, but first, I want you to make some observations about this code. Write at least 3 things you notice about the code. Include things that make sense, as well as things that are strange or confusing to you.
So it's important to know that the XML that we use here is quite a bit different from probably the XML if you're used to writing stuff for web or some of the other things that use various forms of XML for identifiers, as well as this is a lot closer to what you would use for a regular Java inflatable layout, which is where a lot of this comes from. So if you're used to XML markup language, this might look a little strange. But what are some things that we can see that this language is telling us on the left about this thing that it's displaying here on the right?
Each line has has Android in it. So like it starts with Android with the colon.
Right? So that's something. We can have more than 3 things, but what's something else that this is telling us about what we see on the right-hand side?
So it shows like what text you're writing, what background it has, and what is the width and height of that text is.
Right, and so what's something else that we might see about this? Okay.
All variables are in quotes.
Yes, all variables are in quotes. All the things that are unique are in quotes. And so does anybody else have something else that they can add? What's something that you kind of notice that may not be super obvious about it? Super obvious. So
It doesn't end.
what?
It ends the text view and the XML side. Or it's
Right, so there's an end, there's a start that identifies what kind of view it is, and an end over here, right? So we see these brackets. But something else that's a little bit more unique that may not immediately fall into something that you might think about. Look at where this text is. So this text, without any other information, automatically everything goes to that left side and it goes as high as it can, right? So since there's no other copy of itself on top of itself, it's in the top left-hand side. So if you don't tell it that I want it in this one spot, it's going to go up in that left-hand side. We're just going to submit a blank answer, because typing things are a thing.
Thanks for your response. There's no right or wrong answer here, so let's talk about a couple of observations that you may have made. First, you may have seen that there's these weird angle brackets at the start and end of the code. There's also this weird /, but it only happens at the end and not the beginning. And then it says text view, which we recognize because we introduced it earlier. And it's showing up in camel case format with the T and the V capitalized. And then you might see something about Android : text. And the punctuation might be a little weird here, to have a colon and then an equal sign. Then we see something that says happy birthday. And this is showing up exactly like we see on the phone, so somehow they may be related. So this can be an observation as well. Then we see something about the background being some color that's darker gray. And the text view does have a gray background, so this could also be linked. You made some good observations in the last quiz about the XML that we showed you. Now we're going to talk more formally about the XML syntax. Syntax means the rules that define what valid XML is. If you write invalid XML, then it won't even show up on your phone. This is the code for the XML element called TextView. We always start with an opening angle bracket followed by the view name. This could be image view, button, or any other type of view. Then we have a list of attributes here, one per line. And then we have a / and then a closing angle bracket. There's a lot of symbols and characters here. To help you remember it, you can think of an opening angle bracket, ding, and then the view name, whoosh, and then the attributes, pew, 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 and then the / and then the closing angle bracket, boom. So altogether it's ding, whoosh, pew, 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 boom. If you miss any of these symbols, then you're going to get invalid XML. Here's the reasoning behind what seem to be arbitrary symbols. For every XML element, when you start or open up a tag, you always need to close it. It's kind of like putting a period at the end of a sentence, but for XML, instead of a sentence, you need to make sure you close each tag. Because we start the tag here and then close it right away, this is called a self-closing tag. Instead of a self-closing tag, you could have a separate opening tag and a separate closing tag. Here's an example where it would be useful. This is for the linear layout view, which is what you're going to learn later in this lesson. But just know that this is the opening tag and this is the closing tag. The closing tag is the same, except it has an open angle bracket, a /, the name of the view, and then a closing angle bracket. So the difference between the opening and the closing tag is this /. And you'll also notice that in between we have two TextView XML elements. These are also called children XML elements within the parent linear layout. You can imagine that if you had a self-closing tag up here for linear layout, then you would have no idea how many children it contains. But now that the closing tag is down here, you know exactly that you have two children. In our case, for the text view, there are no children XML elements, so we can just do a self-closing tag right away because that saves us from having to write open angle bracket / text view closing angle bracket. You notice that we have a bunch of additional text inside this tag. These are called attributes. Attributes are characteristics that determine the behavior or the appearance of the view on the Android phone. For example, you can think of it with this analogy. A person has attributes like black hair and brown eyes. A text view has attributes like width, height, background, text, among many others. Looking more closely at the format of each line, we have the attribute name on the left-hand side, underlined in yellow here, and on the right-hand side we have the actual value. It's important to note that the attribute values should be put in quotation marks as part of the syntax for XML. Then we have an equal sign in the middle to say that the attribute name on the left is set to the value on the right. So the text for the text view is happy birthday, and the height is 75 density independent pixels. All of these attributes have default values, and there's attributes that we didn't even list here. That's because the text view has default values for all of its attributes. If you're okay with the default values, then you don't need to set them here. You should only write lines of code here that you want to be different than the default values. For example, the default background color for a text view is a transparent color, but we wanted to set it to be a darker gray color, so that's why we have this line of code here. One more important note. Humans are pretty smart. If I write phrases like this, you probably know what I mean, even if I'm not using proper English punctuation or grammar, or even real words. However, computers are not as smart, so you need to use the precise symbols and names that they recognize. Otherwise, they won't know what you mean, and there will be errors in your code. Here's an example. For the name of the view, we can't spell it txt view, or text view with a lowercase v, or text view with a space in it. These are all incorrect, and the computer won't know that we actually mean text view. If we want text view, we need to spell it exactly the same way with a capital T and a capital V for camel case. Attribute names need to be spelled out this exact way with a colon after the Android. We need to have an equal sign, and then we need to put quotes around the values. One more time so you don't forget, it's ding, whoosh, pew, 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 boom. Now that we've gone over the syntax rules of XML, can you answer these questions for this XML element? First, what is the name of this XML element? Then can you list all the attribute names separated by commas, not the attribute values? Then on what line number is the tag closed? To help you, I've written down the line numbers on the left-hand side.
Right, we get to answer some stuff, and now it's fill in the blank. Not even multiple choice. So who wants to chime in for what is the name of the XML element? Text view? Everybody wants to say text view? And we got to spell this correctly. Right? List all of the attribute names separated by commas. So what are the attribute names starting from the top? Okay. One.
Text.
So the attribute would probably be what? Text. Right? And then for number 2, what do we have? And then number 3? Number 4?
Yeah.
And the final?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So let's type those in.
So is Android
text? No, Android is the defining type. So the attribute that you're changing is text color. Hey, I did spell it. Okay. Background.
Android, or is there any other thing?
Everything for the most part is Android. There's some special cases when we get to styles and tools and things like that. This is just indicating the type of XML that we're using. There's a more detailed explanation in there, but it's not something that you would probably hit just yet. Right? And what line number is it closed?
6.
6? All right, we'll put in 6. Sweet. Submit answer. Oh, I guess it wanted me to put, why would it care about that? That doesn't make any sense. Really? I'm astounded.
Computers are stupid, remember?
Yeah, I do.
This one I'll blame on the teachers.
Yeah, I will.
The writer of the voice.
Just wait for Siri to come back. Yeah.
Yeah, except we got everything. Cool. Submit answer. Yay!
The answer to the first question is that the XML element name is here, text view. It follows the open angle bracket. Then all the attributes are below the XML element name, and I've underlined the attribute names here. They're on the left-hand side of the equals sign. They include Android text color, and so on. If you put the attribute values like happy birthday or the color white or black, that's incorrect because those are the attribute values, and I was asking for the names.
I guess somebody misspoke.
The last question is, on what line number is the tag closed? And we see the / and the closing angle bracket on the last line, which is line 6. This means that it's a self-closing tag because we open the text view tag here and then we close it right away.
Okay, so we've seen text view code for the first time.
But it's kind of hanging out in limbo.
Right. We do need a space where we can sort of house it.
Yeah, and that space is an IDE.
Right. There's that acronym again.
Yeah.
What did it stand for, Catherine?
Integrated Development Environment.
Right. And we are going to be using Android Studio in this class. This is what it looks like. Still a little intimidating.
Yeah, I think we might need something that will help our learner ramp up a little bit easier.
So we've been working on developing something that is Android Studio on training wheels, and in the tradition of really convoluted acronyms in computer science, we're calling it XMLV.
Which stands for XML Visualizer.
So you write a little bit of XML, you get to see it. You write some more, you get to see more output.
Yeah, so let's go use it.
Okay.
Since this XML Visualizer was created specifically for this course, it won't provide all the functionality that Android Studio supports. But eventually, in the problem set of this lesson, we'll get you into Android Studio so you won't need this website anymore. A link is in the instructor notes if you want to follow along.
So that was actually the thing that I had posted earlier at the end of this lesson. So, for being able to practice your views without having to sort of make a new app project, without having to go through some of the more extensive bits, this is the thing to use. So you can go to labs.udacity.com/Android-visualizer. The link that they have in the videos is not the right link anymore. So this is the correct one. And what you can do is actually start making interesting things, and without having to wait or make an app and compile it or view it in some weird thing and learn the intricacies of the IDE, you can actually just start making views that you can just copy and paste into your app later. So it's pretty cool, right? So let's go on back. Does everybody have this in their computer right now? So that you can follow along with what's going on the screen and see how it's working?
Have a visualizer on my screen.
Yay, that's what you need.
Okay.
And so that you can see how the tool works and also be able to interact with it while the video is going on as well. Right, is this where we were? I think. This one? No, this one. Cool. So let's get back into the video.
For this code, the text says happy birthday. So when I look at the device, it says happy birthday. Now let's try to change the text to happy birthday, Kunal. And then when I zoom in on the device preview, you see that now it says happy birthday, Kunal. Now what happens if I try to change the width and the height? I'll pick some arbitrary values like 300 dp for the width and 500 dp for the height. And now in the preview pane, you see that the text view is a lot bigger. The text, though, however, is still the same size in the top left corner. Notice that for the width and height values of 300 and 500, it is followed by dp in each case. This is a unit of measure, like centimeters or millimeters, that we use to describe the size of views on Android, as well as the distance in between views. The unit dp stands for density independent pixels. Let me explain why we need that. Say these beautifully drawn rectangles represent different devices. They're the same physical size, but they differ in terms of resolution. This is a medium resolution device with a medium number of pixels on the screen, high resolution, and an extra high resolution device. When I say pixel, I mean a phone screen is made up of many tiny squares which are pixels, and they light up based on what you're looking at. So if I define the size of a view, for example, a button, to be 2 pixels tall by 2 pixels wide, this is what it would look like on a medium resolution device. On a high resolution device, it would also be 2 pixels by 2 pixels, but it's a little bit smaller because there's a lot more pixels trying to be packed into this device. And then on an extra high resolution device, where there's tons more pixels packed into this space, this button is actually pretty tiny. I can barely tap on it with my finger. I have to use the edge of my finger or my fingernail to reach it. Just because I have an extra high resolution device doesn't mean I have a smaller finger. I still want to be able to tap the buttons on the screen. And that is why we have density independent pixels. I can define my button to be 2 dips tall by 2 dips wide. And this is what it would look like across the different devices. It's the same physical size, but under the hood, Android is mapping it to a different number of pixels. You don't have to worry about any of that logic. All you need to remember is that you need to define your sizes in terms of dip values. When designing your apps, we recommend that all touch targets, like buttons, should be at least 48 dips tall and wide. Notice that it says 48 dips and not 48 pixels. Otherwise, it would be really tiny on this extra high resolution device. This will make your app easy to use for everyone. So with all of this knowledge, I want you to try and change the text view code now. You're going to be writing your very first lines of XML. How exciting! So first try to change the text in the text view, and then try to change the size of the text view. Then I want you to try to create an error, sad face, and then I want you to undo it, happy face.
Ooh, it's getting to the point where we actually have you doing things. So everybody's got their laptop. Does everybody have a little example of code for a text view? Because Evan will be coming over, and if you want some help, or if you need some help, you want to know how to create an error, I can definitely help you with that.
Isn't there dark? There's stairs, like oh, on. There's a light that shows dark. There's no dark.
I don't think they have every single font that's ever made in the thing that's designed to help you with starting. But why don't you show me changing the text? You able to find it? Okay, cool. So make it huge, make it tiny. And if you're looking for something to help you, like, in making the text a terrible problem, you could try renaming something. Like one of the attributes with a all lowercase instead of camel case. Or then it's not going to work, it's going to be a problem. Yes, it does. Text. The what? I don't know. Oh, because it's not going to load that. It's not, this is just start. Yeah.
No, what happened?
I didn't vet all their tools for having every single thing. All right. So, what? SP. SP?
Yeah.
So SP is basically actual pixels. Or, well, SP is another, it predates DP. DP is the proper thing to use now. Before that, it was PX for pixel. So you should be using DP and not SP. SP was kind of the interim between directly writing pixels, and what we're using now is just SP pixels. What's up?
Well, sometimes when I get there in the studio, I would say, you should change your text from DP to SP.
For the context of this class.
Actually, it says that.
Yeah,
It says that
okay.
text size, SP, DP is not stored.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm thinking here in the, so I'm thinking in terms of the class, not in terms of like the actual Valio.
How do I change like
Then it shows like saying you should use SP instead of.
What?
How do I change like the length and the width of the text?
So if you, how big did you make it? Wide? So if you want it to be layout, we have width, and we can add a line in here called layout height, right? So copy that same line essentially. You have to make it layout width and layout height. You already did. So height, you have wrap content. You have width defined here twice. So
I just say Android wrap content.
no. So here you already had layout and width defined. You don't want to define it twice, right? You want to just make it once. So if you want it to, so what you can do is you can actually get rid of this whole line.
So
Get rid of that line.
Initialize it up there.
Right, so you can change the height where it says wrap content. You can do 400, or you can do the width as whatever. You can put SP. 115. Yep, and now you have it taking up more space. All right, So it seems like everybody was able to make it happen. Okay, finding my mouse. That's always fun, right? Okay, so we fulfilled the check boxes. Does everybody feel comfortable with what we've done thus far?
If you have El Capitan, you can just like do that and it'll turn big, like the mouse.
I know, but I don't.
All right, so first we load up the web page that was linked in the instructor notes. We see that it's populated already with some code for the happy birthday text view. And then on the right, we see the preview in the device. To change the text that appears here, we need to change the value of the attribute called Android:text. So in between the quotes here, we can change the message. We can change it to, happy birthday to my pet hamster. Then on the device, we can see that the text has now been updated. Woohoo! To change the size of the view, we can modify the width and height attribute values. So in between the quotations, we can delete that and change it to something like 250 dp. And then for the height, we can change it to like 450 dp. Now we see that the text view with the gray background is now a lot bigger. Cool. So the last part of the quiz was to try to create an error. So if I delete the / and the angle bracket, then I get a bunch of errors that show up on the bottom here. Also, the device grays out because there's no valid preview to show on the device anymore. These errors can help you fix your code, but since we know what we need to do to fix it, we can just hit Control-Z to undo the changes we made. The undo shortcut is really useful to use, so it's Command-Z on a Mac or Control-Z on Windows. We can create other errors as well, such as deleting a quotation mark, and then we see the error down here. We can hit undo to make it come back. Or we can change darker gray to Parker gray, which apparently Android doesn't recognize, unfortunately. So we can just switch it back.
So I do want to kind of, somebody asked about SP and pix and inch and millimeters and stuff like that. And so there used to be many different ways to scale things in Android. So it used to be that you could scale it by size when it came to, scale it by size when it came to inches, millimeters, individual pixels, but this became a big problem when when Android became more and more popular because we had lots and lots of different screen sizes and we saw tablets. And now we have cheap Android phones that are under $10 that are, 320 by 480 devices, and that's pixels. But if you were to make a layout for 320 by 480, which is something that in iPhone world, you have some of that as well. You used to have to actually define what iPhone you were in order to pick up the layout. That's no longer the case anymore, but if you've done any of that, then you might be familiar with that world. Now, when we're talking about here, density independent pixels, she's talking about DP. DP is still, for the most part, the standard that you'll see in pretty much every piece of code. What they did introduce a little while ago is SP as well. In terms of most things, they operate like the same. The difference being for accessibility reasons. One is density independent pixel. The other one is scale independent pixel. So if somebody has said like, I want all the font on my phone to be really big because I have a hard time seeing things. When they go to system settings and you say, I want the font really big, what it'll do is it'll take the font that you have defined with the size of SP for scaling reasons, and it will scale it up for that user without you having to write any additional code. So when you see things in here defined as DP for buttons and things like that, it really has to do more with text and certain interactive elements for being able to scale things for accessibility users. So you can use the two interchangeably for what you're doing. SP just happens to be the newer format, so that we can support more users on more devices with more outreach and capability there. Also, if you loaded a custom system font and you wanted all your apps to run that, this would also be applicable to that as well. So just wanted to kind of pause and make sure that that was kind of addressed, because there's a bunch of different ways to scale things, but we're just going to focus on DP as far as this course is concerned, but SP is really the more modern one. So,
reason why we asked you the last question about creating an error and fixing the error is because an important skill of developers is to be able to get past errors. There's no developer who writes code perfectly the first time. If you think about it, the whole Google search product was not written in one day perfectly. It was a lot of iteration over many years, and it continues to be. So regardless of whether you're a new developer or you're an experienced developer, in order to get to the end goal, it's not exactly a straight path. You run into obstacles along the way, and you have to be really creative in terms of trying to come up with other solutions to go around that obstacle. So once you get around it, then you'll run into another obstacle, and so on. And you just always want to keep thinking of ways to get around that obstacle. And eventually, after a lot of work, you finally find the path to the goal. And even though it was super challenging, it was totally worth it in the end, because you feel empowered and confident and just really proud of your work. So the really good developers know how to rebound from an error and continue with their work. So here are some habits and strategies that they use to debug or fix their errors. First, they read the error message. When you're writing a document in Google Docs, for example, if there's any misspellings, then it will tell you with a red underline. Similarly, in Android Studio, if you have typed XML incorrectly, then it will have a red squiggly underline, or it will be highlighted in red. Also, in this bar on the side here, it will show you the message if you hover over the red bar. But in our XML visualizer, there's also helpful error messages. So if I create an error, like removing this quotation mark, it will tell me that there's an uneven number of quotes and that I need to fix it. Sometimes it also tells you the line number that the problem is on. The line numbers are on the left-hand side here. So on line 6, you know that there's a problem. This helps narrow down the problem space instead of having to read through all your code and trying to figure out what the problem is. If you still don't understand the error message, try to identify words that you do understand and the words that you don't understand. You can always Google search for the words you don't understand. Or you can just copy the whole error message and paste that into a Google search. Duh.
Okay, so I do want to go back to here because this link actually, this one actually does work. So if you go back to this and you want to do more syntax errors, or you're just not seeing the error messages pop up on the other one, that one does work. So the first one they showed doesn't, the link I gave you does, this one also works.
The other technique is to use working code samples and compare it to what you have to try to figure out what went wrong. We've already given you some code to look at in the last few videos. Another good resource is the Common Android Views cheat sheet that will provide you. Here we see the names of different views, and we also have code snippets as well as a preview of what they would look like on the device. You can always compare your code to what we have here and see if there's any differences. The third technique is to use undo. If you're paying attention when you type, you should be able to see pretty quickly when you type something wrong. Try undoing the last few keystrokes to see if any of those fix the error. As we showed you before, you can hit Command-Z to undo a change or Command-Shift-Z to redo a change. On Windows, it's Control-Z to undo and Control-Shift-Z to redo. Or in the XML visualizer, we have these nice handy buttons for undo and redo. If you really don't know what to do, you can always hit this Reset Code button, which brings you back to the original code that we gave you, which should work. The fourth technique is to just ask for help. You can reach out to other students on the peer chat in the lesson or on the forums. Oftentimes, just talking to another person will help you work out your errors. Don't be afraid to ask for help. There's a lot of really nice Android developers out in the community who are willing to help you. In fact, being able to ask for help is an important skill for developers. There are no bad questions. The more you practice, the better you'll be at knowing who to ask and what to ask them in order to help you get to your answer faster. You can also take a screenshot of the work that you're doing, whether it's on the phone or in the XML visualizer, and share that along with the code on the forums or in chat so that people know the context in what you're asking. Check out the instructor notes for more details. Okay, so here's a chance for you to practice some of those techniques. I have some code here that has errors. If you click on the link below, it'll bring you to the XML visualizer with this code already populated in there. There's a bunch of error messages, so I want you to try to read them and try to resolve the errors. Then come back and describe at least 2 problems that you saw. For extra credit, tell me if you discovered all 4 problems.
Okay, so this link I will post in the Slack. So this is another reason why the Slack is an important thing. So everybody go to the Slack and then be able to tell me a couple things that you see wrong. There's 2 really, really obvious ones.
The last one, the really good name for a band.
Okay, so why don't we raise hands? What's wrong? What's something wrong?
On the second to last line of code, it should be dark gray instead of darker groy.
Right? Okay. So what's another one? Darker groy.
No closing slash.
Text space view.
Text space view. Good catch. All right. Somebody else?
There isn't an S.
There is a what?
There is not an S. There's only a D.
Okay, right here. All right. What's another one that we see?
150 DP.
No closing slash.
DP is still accepted.
No, in height is missing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he just said that one.
Oh, okay, so the end is missing for the text view.
So it's missing that slash.
Yeah.
So that's basically it. So we'll just put the slash, //
Actually, dark gray is not supported.
Yeah.
We'll just go with misspelling of gray because I also can't spell. Woohoo! All right.
Let's start by reading the first error. It says on line 1, the tag text is not a supported opening tag. So if we look at the line numbers, line 1 corresponds to this one. And indeed, we see that the view name should be text view without a space there. And it should be camel case as well. So the capitalization is correct, but we need to get rid of the space. So now it recognizes that text view is what we're talking about. That reduces 1 error. Cool, so now 3 more to go. The next error says that the tag text view should be self-closing. This means it should end with a / and closing angle bracket. So if we check the code, it should be a self-closing text view tag, but we only see the closing angle bracket. It's missing the, so we add that in. There you go, and now we're down to 2 errors. Cool, so the next one says the attribute Android layout height does not support the value 150, which is on line 4. So we go to line 4, and then we see that this code is incorrect. We may not know what's wrong with it though, so we can compare it to the layout width line above, since width and height are pretty similar. So here we set the width to be 150 dp. We remember dp from our earlier discussion of it, and indeed we're missing dp for the height, so let's add dp. Woohoo! And now we're down to 1 error. The last error says the color at Android color darker groy is not supported. Did you type it incorrectly? Yeah, so in my mind, darker groy is not a color, but darker gray is, so that is a typo, so I'm going to erase the O, type it A, and yay, our device now updates to show a preview of the text view. Oh, there's one more thing. this happy birthday text is actually spelled incorrectly, but there are no errors for that misspelling. That's because the text for a text view can be anything inside these two quotes. So you can misspell anything that you want, or you can spell it correctly. It really doesn't matter, and it'll just show up like that. When you're creating your app, we're not checking for the rules of English, we're checking for the rules of XML syntax. Okay, so you've had your first attempts at writing code and fixing errors. This type of experimentation is a critical part of learning Android development. Let's talk about the size of views now. We know that the width and height are expressed in DP values, or density independent pixels. This makes it look good across a range of different devices. However, there's still room for improvement in this UI. If I change this text here to be something longer, for example, wait, today's your birthday? Notice that the text updates here, but that it wraps to 2 lines. Ideally, it would all be on 1 line because there's plenty of screen real estate on this side. The reason the box didn't change size is because we gave it a fixed width and height of 150 dp. When you set a very specific value for width and height like this is called hard coding a value. It's generally considered not good practice because if the text ever changes like this, then it looks funny. We have to go and change the width to something like 200 so that it fits all on 1 line. But it would be such a hassle to keep updating the width and height based on what the text is. You might not know what the text is until later. For example, if you have an app that's showing news articles, the title of each story may change. And you don't want your UI to break if you have a really long title or a really short title. So in Android, we can solve this problem by setting the width to be a special value called wrap content. This adjusts the width of the text view so that it's precisely the width of the content inside of it. It's not too short and it's not too large, it's just right. Similarly, for height, instead of setting it to 150 dp, we can set it to the special value of wrap content. Then the text view will update so that the size of the text view is only as tall as the text inside of it. Now, setting wrap content for height or width is very powerful because you might have content beside it on the right here, which will now be shifted over because you don't have this excess space in the text view. And similarly, if you have other text views below this, now they can shift up to right below this first text view. Back to the news app example. If this was the story title, you wouldn't want the story description to be all the way down here, 150 diffs away. Instead, you'd want the description to be right up under the story title. Zooming back out, let's try a shorter string. Okay, it's time for you to practice now. We want you to change a couple things with the code. Change the width and the height of the text view to be wrap content. Then change the text to be a really long sentence or paragraph so that it displays more than 1 line of text on the device preview. You can even type out the full birthday song if you wanted. That's pretty long. The code to get you started is linked below.
Okay, so, and that'll be in the Slack channel as well. That was not what I meant to do. So, I want to see what you guys do. So change that piece. I just sent the link in the Slack to wrap content. And once we get through with this lesson piece for wrapping content, we'll take a little break, all right? Pee break, smoke break, whatever, which way. All right, so I want to see what you guys do and what happens. Yes? There is. We'll be doing fancy buttons a little bit later. There's buttons that have text and image, and you can do a borderless button, transparent buttons, all kinds of buttons. And then there's all kinds of stuff that we can do with Right now we're focusing on really simple stuff like activities, but there's also fragments and app compat activity for backporting purposes.
So
all kinds of other things.
what's the difference between combat activity and just activity?
So activity is a little bit higher up the chain than app compat activity. So let's say like some of the newest styles of stuff. So we were to make a button and we wanted it to have like material design stuff in it. But we wanted that to look the same on a brand new device as we did a device that's running Android Jelly Bean. We would need to make it use app compat unless we built all the components of that button. So that those pieces could transpose from one to the next. But we're not going to be focusing on that in this class because app compat is its own very distinct daemon in a lot of ways. And it's something that even seasoned Android developers don't always approach. So I can tell you, having done many migrations to app compat for large corporations, not really at my thing here, but in working with Sony and people like Motorola and whatnot, it can be a rather painful process. So we're definitely not focusing on that for this, but there's definitely a lot of things to go. So Mark at Styling Android, so Mark is actually a friend of mine who lives in the UK. He runs the Styling Android blog. He'd be a really good resource to go and look at how to do all the more advanced stuff in terms of UI. All right, so has everybody made it wrap and then had it write something crazy long, made the text really huge? So you see, well, you wrote something giant, you only see one word or a letter. Doesn't have to be that, but just so that you can see that this is what happens and it comes through. So, yeah, so what ends up happening with this when we do a wrap content versus defining the actual height and width? So what happens when we say wrap the width of the object and we make a really long line? Does somebody want to chime in? All right, what happens?
The code basically tells the layout width to become as wide as how much ever the text takes space, and as well as with the height.
So if we made it really, really big text and really, really long, what we're saying is make it as big and as wide and as tall as it needs to be to fit all of that text on that screen. Because we're saying the text is more important than it is to have the size of that particular view be a certain size, right? Or a certain scale. We care about the content more than we care about how well it fits in a single screen. Because remember, we have the ability to scroll and we can do a lot of other things. So like if you try to read an article from Wall Street News, right, Wall Street Journal, sorry, what's it gonna have? It's gonna have a lot of text. Well, do you care about how long you're spending scrolling, or do you care about the fact that the text is easy for you to read and that you can actually read the whole article? So do you care that it fit in the same space as somebody who has a tablet, or do you care that it was easy for you to read? Easy to read, all right.
Did you send out an invite on the Slack to us, or what? I mean, I go to the...
So I've been sending the links to...
Don't we have to be in the Slack channel?
Yes.
Yeah, so how does that happen?
So I set that people who, that thing at the beginning.
Right. But when I went to that, it was only, I was having the same problem that John was having. So
The Android Study Jams DFW link, that form link.
Yeah, I entered in on that one.
Because...
No, I never got anything back.
If you go to their their experiment lab thing online, you can just do the same thing you're asking us to do with code they give you.
Right, but it's part of this is the interactiveness and being able to ask questions and get feedback and insight. So if we were looking at this, you were wondering about how do I get access to that Slack channel? This form.
Do that. So now.
Right, so you have to check your email.
Yeah, and I don't see it. So let me try that again. But I heard someone else.
You might have misspelled your email address or something.
I did it twice.
Yeah, you have to say that you because I can't just randomly add you.
No, I understand that.
Okay, so did you get it in this one? I just copy pasted everybody's email as an invite again, and it picked up like one or two.
Yeah, just got one.
Okay. Is everybody good? Everybody been getting? So if I'll let you have a second.
Got it.
All right. Cool. So let's keep going. All right, we did the things. Yay! Congratulations, us everybody. And all right, so now let's take a potty break, everybody. It's been about an hour and like 15 minutes. We've got about another 30 minutes or so. So let's take a 5-minute break and stretch your legs. Don't let it get too late. We can decide whether or not we want to go later or not. All right. So come on. Go to the bathroom. If you have questions about where the bathroom is or how to get back in, you get lost, let me know. Soda B, what's soda B? So are you guys finding this help? Is there any other things that you might want for me to do or provide insight on? Or? Very quiet.
Still don't understand the Android colon thing.
What? I'm sorry?
I still don't understand the Android colon thing.
So the Android colon thing. So what we're talking, the basic XML type that we're using is the Android XML type. So it's important to know that there's extra types. So you could have tools, some specialization in tools. You can also have certain design XML elements that are only applicable with an add-on package. So when we're talking about Android we're talking about what's included in the IDE and what's included in the basics of what you need to get things done. So Android without anything.
No, without Android colon. If you just say text equal happy birthday without Android colon, is what he's asking.
So in newer versions of Android Studio, it actually allows for that, making an assumption if the only XML type that you've defined at the top of the layout is Android. So there's a special definition thing that's there. Now when you make the layout, it automatically puts that at the top. But the Android colon is something that's important when we start talking about like being able to build other types and other tools and things like that and extensibility purposes. So if you say like if you imported a library that lets you skip some things about buttons, right? Like it makes buttons that jump up and bounce down, right? Those could have a special XML attribute type that you need to define, and then you have to include their XML header type with a certain name to it, and then you have to paste it into that area. So then if you were to just say text color, they don't know if you're talking about the text color of an Android thing or if you're talking about the text color of the external thing that you're using. So you have to be able to define those. Does So, and also these are Android specific things. Now we also support some things that are from Java and other baser model things for inflations that don't have. We're defining that this is Android XML. This is an Android attribute because Java XML layouts are very, very similar. Yes, there are. Except, like, a lot of things still happen in the on-rod, so. And the way that, like, some of the threading works in Android is a little bit different because of the way the Android runtime is set up and garbage collection is different and things like that. So if you're using Dalvik, again, this is a more technical thing, but they run slightly. So, yeah.
Yep.
But we also have like, so if you're interested in some of those more advanced topics, I'm actually going to be speaking at the end of July in Denver, 360 end of, about async tags, threads, thread pool, thread management, and how to like write thread safe code. So threads are not something that you guys would hit in a beginning course. Because we're just going to use everything in the main thread for the most part in this class. So it's like the main process, being able to fire off multiple processes and do multiple things and get different return values, and also keep those processes alive. And instead of taking the thing that's running that process and killing it when the process is done, you could take the same thing and just pipe a new process. So like how that stuff works is more of a overriding, like threads and stuff like that is a more like advanced topic in coding.
Try not to step on your values.
Yeah. I feel like if you're a professional coder and you've been doing it for more than like 3 years, you should really know how thread management works in whatever your platform of choice is. Whether or not you directly manage them, you should know at least what's happening. I have so many problems with that. I see people do that all the time with RX Android and RX Java. And even people who are so-called Android experts that are friends of mine, and they're like, I never learned how to do that properly. I'm like, you have a thing against your name that says that you're an expert. You should know how to do this. But I know it's a hard topic to understand, but it's even harder to do well. There's special reasons why you would want to. Like I had a situation where I wanted to do. I had something that had to run entirely in a JVM, but it was socket level code. So how do you do socket management and all of that? And it has to be thread safe and has to manage threads individually and turn stuff on, turn stuff off, but also.
You probably don't want to know the things I got.
No, you don't. You don't. So there's a lot of other things that you need to do to be able to handle all kinds of weird exceptions that can happen.
Good, you're doing that. You're going where you're doing.
It's Java IO.
Little brother.
Yes. What's up, sir?
I have an issue with the assignment.
You have an issue?
I signed up like 3 times.
You signed up, but did you get the? Did you go to DFW studyjams.slack.com? Are you able to sign in there?
If you would get an email, because you need that name, not email, anything else.
Right. You have to. Did you fill out the form?
Check your spam folder.
Did you fill out the form that I posted on the front? I've invited like everybody like several times. Let's see. Did you see my email at the front when I posted it? My email?
childrenofthehorn@gmail.com.
Child of the Horn? Like children of the corn, but child of the horn. Okay. So, yeah, I haven't received a request from you to get in. So, what I need for you to do is send me an email with your email, because I've sent everybody that's on this list.
One basic question.
Yes.
If I forwarded my invite to him, would that work, or is that link customized for me?
What?
If I forwarded my invite to him, would that work, or is it customized?
No, it's customized to you.
Thought that was too easy.
It is too easy. It's too many easies.
childofthehorn@gmail.com.
Yeah, because I'm checking all of these, and hitting refresh and everything, and if you didn't post a valid email, they can't help you.
So I didn't get mine until the last invite round that you sent, so it's delayed.
Well, when you fill out the form, I have to actually go in and hit an invite to make sure that you all get invited. So, you just got it? Interesting. Yeah, and a couple of you guys signed up. Somebody signed up with the same email 3 times. That was you? Okay, just making sure, Joseph. Now you're on 3 times my list. So I really like the idea of having this be also on the Slack so that everybody who's watching online can participate, but also it keeps it so that when we have these links and things like that, that we can just easily send it without having to do any kind of craziness, which is nice. So, yay, everybody. How much fun. I think I'm going to do the roundup because we were only going to do 5 minutes. It's been almost 10. All right, let's get the roundup. Hey, anybody who's here for the Android class, come back in.
Like a phone thing you can do. You can also pay.
She doesn't need it.
She doesn't. I was curious.
Maybe a couple people just decided to actually leave.
Yep.
What?
One is in this one, so we left.
Oh, okay. Was it K? Oh, okay. Alrighty. Well, we're going to continue on because we don't have the greatest amount of time.
So the quiz said to change the width and the height to be wrapped content. Now these 2 values don't have to match every single time, so I can set one to be wrapped content and the other to be a fixed value like 150 dip, and then you see it update here. And then we see that happily the text view size has now shrunk to fit the content inside of it. So it's only as wide and tall as the happy birthday text inside of it. Great, so now the second part of the quiz was to change the text so that it's a lot longer than just 1 line of text. We wanted to go to 2 lines of text on the device here. Let's change the text inside the quotation marks here. I'm gonna pick the happy birthday song. So happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Jenny, happy birthday to you. Jenny's our teammate who keeps us on track and makes sure that we're shipping this course to you on time. Okay, so now we see that the text view, which is marked by this gray background, has now expanded in height because now there's more text inside of the text view. That's pretty cool. It did that automatically without having to change the width manually. If you haven't already noticed, the text is kind of tiny on this device screen. I mean, my eyesight is terrible, so I really need it to be a lot bigger. Luckily for us, there is an attribute that we can declare to change the text size. Oh, but wait, there is an error down here. It says the computer wasn't able to understand my XML. Double checking the code, I see this new line that we added is actually appearing in black font, whereas everything above it has blue for the attribute name and red for the attribute value. So there's something wrong with this line. Oh wait, I see it now. / and the closing angle bracket are on this line up here. This is actually a common beginner mistake to add the attribute after the tag has been closed. Technically, this is like hanging out in XML limbo or something because it's not tied to an XML element. What we really want is to copy these symbols and move them down here. Ah, that's better. There's no error. This is valid XML, and then our font is bigger. Woohoo! It's much more readable now. Note how the text size is set to be 45 SP. SP stands for Scale Independent Pixels. It's a unit of measure similar to DP, which makes the app look consistent across different devices of different densities. Now, SP is only used for fonts because it adjusts based on the user's preferences and settings for text size. Let's look at that now. Let me show you where the setting is. Go to the Settings app, and then tap on Display, and there's an option for font size. If you click on that, you can see the different font sizes. If I click on Huge, it increases the font size of everything. So always use SP to declare your font sizes so it will scale up or down according to the user's preference. In a moment, you'll change the text size of the text view. However, I first wanted to show you one thing. This is the Material Design spec. Material Design is a new design language developed by Google to help people create consistent and beautiful apps across different devices and platforms, like web and mobile. The design specification, or design spec for short, highlights the best practices for designing your app. It provides guidance on the layout of your app, visual style, imagery, animations, and much more. There's also a section on typography, or fonts. It lists a whole bunch of information here that you can read later, but the most important thing is this guide here that talks about the recommended text sizes. If you're displaying a really big header, you can use some of these text size values. If you're trying to do a title or some body text or a caption, you can use some of these sizes. This will help guide you on what types of values you can pick depending on what your use case is. But be careful, because if you pick too many type sizes or styles in your app, it can be really overwhelming for the user. So just pick a couple of styles to display the information that you want. When you change the text size for the text view, try a couple of these values here. Go ahead and change the text view font size using the Material Design spec. And then if you're up for a challenge, you can try learning about the text appearance attribute from the Google Plus Android Dev Pro tip that I've posted below. And then you can try this in the XML Visualizer as well. The link to the XML Visualizer with the code for you to get started is linked below.
So, great. So let's look at this. So I noticed that some of you guys were doing this earlier when we were talking about wrap content and what kind of different things you can do. And this plays into exactly what we were bringing up earlier with DP versus SP versus how they actually work. Now, SP is being used on more than just fonts now, because we have certain things that come into play when we start talking about accessibility and some of the even higher scale devices, like there's the 4K tablet. 4K on a tablet, it's crazy, right? So,
so when we say 45 SP, right, and she was talking about depending on the user preference, small, medium, whatever, right? So the 45 was variable.
So scale independent pixel. When you actually are typing stuff into the layout editor, it's assuming that the user has defined that the font size be normal, right? So if it's normal, it's going to appear exactly like it would between DP and SP. DP and SP would operate exactly the same. if the user has specified that they want the font size to be normal. If the user has specified they want the font size to be big, then what that'll do is it'll scale that font, because right here we're not concerned with density, we're considering scale. And if the scale is larger, then what it can do, it can adjust and make that text bigger to accommodate. So like if you wanted the edges to also become bigger, then you'd make the edges defined in SP rather than DP. So if you had, say, like, okay, I want this, only this actual amount of, we're calling padding, it's a more advanced thing, you haven't gotten to it yet. But we wanted that to remain the same size, regardless of if they have made it large font or small font. So if they've made it small font, that side piece that we defined in DP will never change. It will be the same on that same device if they define large font or small font. If we define it as SP, then it will scale in the same way that the font is scaled for that particular item. I'm just throwing an example out here, but it really only pertains to text views, image views, things that contain text are the only items that would be affected by it.
In general, as you program, you will define
At least
style.
right now.
You will define a style and then you use that style everywhere, right? Because you don't want to
Right,
hardcode
you can do that, but we haven't gotten to that point yet.
But that's the general.
That's the general way in which things are done, and you make themes, and you make all these UI elements, and you make views and stuff, custom views, and all this other crap that it just sounds like jargon right now when I say it, and that's because it totally is jargon, absolutely jargon. There's a bunch of advanced topics, and if you guys have any questions on that stuff, feel free to contact me directly. Again, I've been doing this for over 6 years, so I would hope I would know, otherwise I would be really crappy at it and terrible and wasting my life. So please, you know, I want to see that you guys have done some things on your laptop. Are you following through with the example? Anybody have any questions? What's going on? So when we talk about text appearance, what would something be that could be a text appearance? So what about text can you do in a Word doc? Other than make the size big, what could you do to text in a Word doc?
Bold, colorful.
What? Yeah, bold and italic, right? So those are different types of text appearance that we can have. Even underline. Strike-through is a more recent one they have now. So you can give something bold, you can make it bold italic, you can make it bold underline italic, you can make it a bunch of different things. But so if you want to make something the same font, like Bravado bold, you would change it using text appearance.
It's closing the whole thing. And then when you go down here, you can close the. It's in there. It's closing the whole thing. So you got that's basically this one.
Right. You're gonna keep going? Yay!
You type in this thing is.
Okay, I'm going to choose a really big font, and then I'll try a really small font. So I picked display 3 here, which is 56 SP. And remember to add the attribute before the tag is closed. So I'll hit enter here, and then add text size attribute. Cool. And then the text is giant over here. Okay, now I can try a smaller size of maybe some body text, which would be 14 SP. So I'll erase this, and then let's hit 14. And then it's tiny again. Cool. Okay, so we finished the first task. The optional challenge was to try learning about the text appearance attribute on your own from the Google Plus Pro tip that I included a link to. Let's open that up now. So this is an Android Dev Pro tip that was written by yours truly for the Android Developers Google Plus page. If you haven't already, you can follow the Google Plus page for Android developers to get the latest news on Android development. Or if you prefer Twitter, you can follow our account there. So basically, in this short pro tip, I talk about, again, how too many font sizes can be visually distracting for your user. So you can use the recommended font sizes in the material design spec, or you can also choose from a standard set of type sizes provided by Android, which is small, medium, and large. So instead of text size, you set the Android text appearance attribute to be Android text appearance large, or you can set small or medium. These text appearance values map to these SP font sizes. So if these ever change in Android, then your code will automatically get the new value. Using text appearance is great because you don't have to worry about specific SP values, and you can still be consistent with other apps on the device. For example, for title, you can use large. For a list item, you can use medium. Or for a caption, you can use small. So these are good buckets to work with.
I'm going to try
If
and
you want to
speed this
use
through.
large.
We're getting close. I believe in us.
You're doing awesome. Let's look at one more thing you can change. Notice how this says Android color and it's a darker gray. I want to change it to something like black or maybe something like white. Let me see the device updates on the right here. How about if we change it to my favorite color, blue? So it doesn't exactly work because blue is not a supported color. There's a limited set of colors provided by Android, but you can still access a whole range of other colors by specifying the exact hex color code. You can find those again in the material design spec for color. So each of these colors is given a name from the material team, like 50, 100, 200. So let's choose this blue here. You can double click to copy it and then go over to the code, and then instead of blue, I'm going to replace this with hashtag and then the hex color code. Cool. So now the background of the text view is this blue color. It looks pretty nice. So now you might be wondering if you can also change the text color. And yes, you can. So I'll add it right here. Android text color equals, and I can specify in quotations the hex value. So go back to the color guidelines and, I'll just pick a random color. I like green, so this color will do. Copy that and then paste that here in between the quotes. Hashtag and the hex code. And cool, now the device shows the green text color on the blue background. Now it's your turn. Change the color of the background and the text of the text view to 2 different colors from the material design spec. This is linked below, as well as the XML visualizer that has your starter code. Have fun.
Does that material design spec change significantly between versions like ice cream sandwich and marshmallow?
So I can tell you that design spec has existed. So we're now on like 6.0.1 is the official release. Android N hasn't gone out, but material design came in as part of 5.0.
Okay.
So when we come to older versions, they didn't have some of these color specs and size specs and things like that. As part of doing this whole redesign, they added a lot of resources for best practices as well as fun things to do. Now, I can tell you that for everything that they list as a design element or a best practice, for 98% of those things, there's something in Android that already lets you do it in a much simpler way. For 2% of those things, they have the design spec, but they don't have a library built in or pushed out for you to be able to access natively. That's because when they do these design specs, they include stuff for Android, but there's also material design for web, material design for embedded apps, all of that stuff, and they use pretty much the same conjoined things. And then on top of that, they try to keep it fairly universal. So if there's a severe limitation on a platform like web, so I was talking to the guys, if you've used an Android app and it's got that ripple effect, kind of like a dollop of water into a pond. See how it ripples out? Now, in Android, we could make that ripple have no bounds. It could ripple across the entire screen. But in web, that's not really possible to do without using a lot of resources because of the way that web works. So they have to put little constraints around it and make a box that ripples. So they had to make the spec to kind of make that match. But you can still, so if you actually use the Home Depot app right now and you get a pop-up, that ripple has no bounds. But it disintegrates before it takes over the page or anything. But that had to be custom made versus using something that the operating system gives you. So the material spec, pretty awesome just to go through some of the cool stuff. Like animations, you're like, oh my God, how am I gonna do that? Oh, that's gonna take so long. And they're like, oh, there's this wonderful little pre-done thing that lets you do all of that with like 2 lines of code, and it's wonderful. So yeah, that's a piece. So has everybody gone through and changed their text color and their background color? Anybody feel like showing me? It does have a, well, other than hex color. Hey, good job, buddy. All right, this is my app and I love it. I love it too. If I hated it, I wouldn't be doing it every day. I wouldn't be teaching y'all. Oh, I'm becoming full Texan. I say y'all all the time. Woohoo!
Okay, so hopefully you picked some colors from the Material Design color palette. I like this purple 500 color, so I'm going to go ahead and copy it. And I'll go over to the code and then change the background color to be hashtag, and then the hex code. Then the background of the text view updates to the purple color. Cool. Let's change the text color and write Android text color with a capital C and then put double quotes. Okay, so then I'll go back to the color guidelines and pick something like, maybe this yellow looks good. Go over here and paste it in between the quotes. Oops, I forgot the pound sign. And it says this color is not supported. So I need to put the hashtag symbol in first. Cool. And then we got yellow text on a purple background. It looks pretty awesome to me.
It does to me too. All right, we've only got
We played around a little bit with
one
text
more
view.
actual thing
The
to
other
do.
view we want to learn about now to make our birthday card is the image view. Now here's the XML for image view. Let's look at the lines one at a time. The XML element starts with an open angle bracket, ding, and then the name of the view, whoosh, and then the list of attributes, pew, 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 pew. Then it's followed by a / and then a closing angle bracket, boom. When we wrote the XML for text view, it displayed text on the screen. So now when we write image view here, it displays an image on the screen. The first attribute is something we haven't seen before. It says Android source equals @drawable/cake. This is saying that the source for this image should be found in this file here. The file name is called cake. We use the @ symbol to say that we're referencing a resource in the Android app, and drawable is the resource type. A drawable is like a graphic that will be shown on screen in Android. And again, cake is the file image name. We don't include the file extension. You don't need to say if it's a JPEG or a PNG image, just say the file name. If you're wondering where this image came from, well, we handled this a little bit differently in the XML visualizer compared to the app. But basically, we loaded in a bunch of images beforehand so that you can use them to practice in the XML visualizer. When you build your app in Android Studio, you're going to have to add images manually into your app, into the drawable folder. Now, if I try to reference an image that doesn't exist, for example, the toys image does not exist, then there will be an error because toys is not a valid image. So make sure that you only reference images that are available. So let's change it back by hitting undo. Now we have the width and height, which are set to be wrapped content, so that the image view is only as big as the cake image inside of it. Lastly, we have this attribute called Android scale type, and it's set to be center. Scale type tells the device how to scale up or scale down the image based on the bounds of the image view. Let's see what that looks like. Now you can see the cake image showing up on the device. The cake image is actually pretty large, and it's larger than the screen size. So when we say scale type, it doesn't change the size of the image, it just centers it. So we see that the cake image is actually really big, but this is the center of the cake image. We can set other values for scale type, such as center crop. This scales down the image to fit the height and width of the view. In this case, we're constrained by the size of the screen. We also maintain the aspect ratio of the original image so it doesn't get distorted. Once we scale it down, we also center the image and then crop it so that it fits this view size. When displaying photographs, I like to use center crop. This is because it's typically okay to crop off the edges of the photograph in order to achieve this edge-to-edge look. When images go edge-to-edge without any white border or anything, this is what we call a full bleed image. We use a lot of full bleed images in the material design guide. Here are some examples. You see how the images go edge to edge here, and it gives it a nice immersive feel. Okay, now it's time for you to try. Specifically, we would love for you to be able to change the height and width of the image view to be a fixed dp value. Try something like 100 dp. Then change the scale type between center and center crop. And you can also adjust the height and width of the image accordingly. For example, what happens if you change the height and width of the image view to be greater than the size of the device? Or what happens if you set the height and width to be something smaller than the size of the device? In those cases, you may see different behavior for center and center crop. Also try to change the image to something else by checking the available images link. We've included a small version of the cake image as well as a larger version so that you can try the different scale types. We also included an Android icon. Use the link below to get to the XML visualizer.
All right. All right, simple image view out on the Slack channel. You can see some cool stuff. So scaling images is a really big problem, right? So, okay, so I work for Home Depot. What do you do if you were to go to like the Home Depot site? What would you probably do? You probably want to look at like images of something that you're going to buy, right? But we also don't want to make it so that we want to give you as much about the image as we can, right? So if we're doing zooms or we're doing things like that, we want to present as much in as high a quality as possible, but we don't always have perfect images, right? So when you take an image from your friend, you maybe took it and cropped off the ends because the ends had random people waving and you didn't think that that was a cool thing to post on Facebook. And so, okay, well, I want it to still fill up that whole page. So how do we do that? How do we scale that so that we give the customer or your friends or Facebook the biggest picture of either the product that you're trying to sell them or a picture that you're trying to share, but they have a really old phone and you have a really new phone? How do you get them to have the same kind of experience? So this is how we make those kinds of adjustments. So let's see the difference between center and center crop. Center, you got it, you got it, you got it. Let me see, let me see, let me see. Ah, it's a school night. No, it's not. It's summer. No excuses. Did you not see what I posted in the first slide? No excuses. No excuses. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I'm not gonna let you just lay down on here. It's not a couch. You're here to learn stuff.
I can't. That wires is like dumped under the vehicle. They gotta. Oh, your truck.
No. Oh, yeah. You'll be. Just wait till August. But there's all kinds of cool stuff. Woohoo! Yay! We can see some of the things that you're
Scalar
building.
type. Okay,
things
that's
that you're
what I'm saying.
building. By the way, what's your specs? Bringing a keyboard and a mouse.
Yeah, it's sticky.
It's okay. I have a.
That's still root there.
I use
Yeah, no.
60%
I was gonna ask her
mechanical
about it.
keyboards, the ones that are really small.
Yep.
I build them my stuff, but like I always bring it and put it right on top of where my laptop keyboard would be, so that I can have different docks. It really irritates some people. Like clicky it. Make you feel like I'm doing work, right?
Go get me a different keyboard one time because she was annoyed by the noises. She was like, "Here, use this now."
I try to silence them somewhat. I type so fast that like it really irritates some people. I need to be better than 60 words per minute. I want to get to 90 or 100 in a couple of years. Because right now I'm still at the point where I make spelling mistakes because my brain is firing faster than I can type. No, but I do have a lot of like special hotkeys and key combos already set up, kind of like a accordion keyboard, because I use open source fully programmable keyboards, and I break them.
I had a job once where we were working in a place called Reader in Texas, and it was that people would call in, and you had to call and be the conduit between, and so you had to type as fast as people could call. So that was a great way to increase your typing speed.
Yeah, the typing. What is it? So typing of the dead is a good one to try, and then also there's one where you can type race against somebody else online. It's a good way to bring your skills up.
But there's nothing like typing 8 hours a day while people are angry at you for typing too slow. So, I mean, that really jacks your rate up.
I don't think I want the stress.
That sucks.
Yes, sir.
Jumping
What's
too
up?
far ahead. I've got two views here. You know, I've got the text view with a happy birthday, and then the image view. But it's asking that I've got one initialized. So
what you haven't done is you haven't defined a view group type.
Right.
So in order to make that a thing, you need to put a linear layout around it, like we had in that really far advanced left front. So, but don't get too far ahead. We're all still moving together. At least we're trying to. All right, so we have done these things. And the checkboxes are ironically not in the same spots in all the checks. Submit the answer. The answer is that we did it.
If we try the smaller image, then we see that the image is actually smaller than the size of the screen. So it doesn't matter if we choose scale type to be center or center crop, the full image will be able to be shown in the view. And this is what it looks like with a photograph. Now let's try the icon. That was called Android. So the size of the icon is smaller than the size of the screen. So if we do wrap content for the width and height, then it should fit on the screen. It doesn't matter if we use center or center crop. Now what happens if we set the image view to be larger than the device size? Say we pick a really large number, like 900 dp in width and height. Then the image view will take up a size larger than the screen size, but the scale type is set to center. So the icon will be centered within that humongous image view. If we choose center crop though, the system tries to scale the image up to be a square of 900 dp by 900 dp, and then it centers and crops the image. Now that you've experimented with the image view XML, hopefully you have a better idea of how to display images in your app.
So there's another way to scale your images, but it uses scale type would be fit XY.
The documentation for Android is on a site called developer.android.com. It contains a lot of helpful information such as code samples, tutorials, and articles.
So there's another type called fit XY, and that one will change things in very odd ways. If you have a say you don't know what size the images are that are going to be coming to you, so center and center crop may not work, because that's making the assumption that you're going to receive a fairly large image for a fairly large device. So there's two other things to watch out for there. They would be scale type fit XY. So what that does is it literally says, whatever the size is of the image that I get, I want it to fill up this much space. So say I said that I want this image view to be 100 dp by 100 dp. The image that I get is 300 by 400. So I just change by doing fit XY. I'm going to fill that full 100 by 100 dp space, but I'm going to change that aspect ratio from a 4 by 3 to a 1 by 1. So it's going to change the way that that looks. But sometimes that can be fairly useful, especially because if you know that the aspect ratio is going to basically be the same, But what if you have a really high-res device and you have DP, but you need that image to take up a certain amount of space and you need it to scale up? Then you have that ability with FitXY, so that if somebody has a 4K tablet, it's still, the layout that you want is still there. So if you had like a special gradient or a special kind of button that had a weird shape to it, from a background standpoint, you'd want that scale type to be like that. So it wouldn't be used for like photos, for example, right? So photos, you don't want to do FitXY, because if somebody's face looks totally weird and really long, people are going to notice, right? But if you had like some custom shiny button and it was a little bit longer than what you originally intended, but it fit with the text that you were doing so that the whole thing looked right, people won't notice at all. So there's different types of scenarios where that could be the case, where you have like an image of a play button. A play button that's stretched a little bit high or a little bit wide, people are still going to know that's a play button. But it takes up the amount of space that you need. So another thing to a more advanced subject when it comes to image views is adjust view bounds. Adjust view bounds is something that allows literally for adjusting the view bounds. So I can tell you that when you do wrap content on an image view, it tends to like very regular square shapes. Even if it gets photos that, and this is actually a problem with the way that image view is put together. So if you have a very high density, larger image, and you can't really do center crop because you want it to fill up a certain amount of space, you can actually do adjust view bounds so that it can wrap as much as it can to the right and as much as it can to the top and bottom. But you also want to have it so that that ends up not taking up too much space. So adjust view bounds is a way to make that possible using resources. So like a problem for Android. Let's look at this. So if you have a Samsung device, you have hardware keys. You have keys that are built into the physical phone, right? But if I look at my Nexus 6P, I don't have any buttons down here. What?
You have soft.
Yeah, you have soft keys. But the displays that I have are going to be the same density of display, right? So I have two, if I compare a Galaxy S7 to a Nexus 6P, they both have quad HD displays. But in this guy, I've got 150 to 250 pixels at the bottom that are taken up by those software keys. And I still want to keep those software keys on the screen, right? Because I may have things in my app that make me want to go back or forward or home or be able to hit their recents folder, something that's not a game, not an immersive experience. I want them to be able to have those. So if I have an image view that needs to be able to pick the right resources for a thing that has on-screen, so I can say, okay, I've got on-screen keys, so I'm just going to leave this as wrap content. I'm just going to leave this as wrap content, because then that way I know that my text views will be safe, they won't be covered up, things won't be missing, and I'll still have my image view take up as much space as it can on left and right, and up and down. But if I have hardware keys, wow, I have all this extra space for a larger image now. I have an extra 200 pixels to work with. And I know what that space is, so I can just say set adjust view bounds, and or just adjust view bounds equals true for that layout, and then I can have a larger image. So there's those are two things that are kind of interesting, cool. They do come up from time to time. So if I was talking about a scale type, what scale type did I just tell you about?
The FitXY.
FitXY. So what parameter lets you kind of adjust that wrap content stuff? So if you have a bigger image and you want it to be able to fit even larger without cropping,
adjust view bounds.
Adjust view bounds. Cool. So I think we're almost done. How wonderful is that, guys?
You can think of it as an instruction manual for how to build apps. I use this site daily, and oftentimes I get to it using a Google search. I'll show you what I mean. Let's look at the documentation for TextView. So I search for TextView Android. The top link that comes up is a developer.android.com site, so I click on that. This is what we call the reference documentation for TextView. I know there's a lot of information on this page and it can be overwhelming, but usually when you're looking at reference documentation, you're trying to solve a specific problem. So you can actually filter out all the unnecessary information that you don't need. When I come to this page, I check that it is indeed for TextView. I may read the class overview, and then I can scroll down. This is the interesting part. It lists out the XML attributes. These are all the possible XML attributes for TextView. It also includes a nice description on the right-hand side for what it does. Now you don't need to memorize all of these attributes. In fact, I haven't used some of them. I usually work with a small subset of them on a regular basis. But I know that if I ever need something special, I can always come to the TextView documentation to find that specific attribute. Well, here's one that we recognize, Android text size. Click on it, and it links to the description of this attribute. It says that this controls the size of the text, and the recommended dimension type for text is SP, or scale of pixels. For example, 15 SP. Cool, so we learned this earlier, and if you ever forget, you can always come back to the TextView documentation and look up what the attribute is. Now say, for example, I don't know what the exact name is. In your web browser, you can use the Find feature to search the page. The other way to open up this Find window is to use Command F on Mac or Control F on Windows. Then I can type in what I'm looking for. Say, for example, I'm looking for a way to capitalize all the letters in a text view. This might be useful, for example, if I'm trying to show tabs like this, or if I'm creating a snack bar at the bottom of the screen, like this undo text here is in all caps. Buttons are also in all caps. Going back to the TextView documentation, I can search for caps. I can browse through all the search results, but these look pretty good. It says that there's an XML attribute called Android text all caps. And this description says to present the text in all caps. If I click on it and read the description, it sounds like what I'm looking for. And it says the possible values for this attribute are either true or false. So I can try this out in code now. So going back to the XML visualizer, say I have this text view on screen, and I want to change it to be all caps. According to the documentation, I can add an attribute here that says Android text all caps, and I can set it to be true or false. If I set it to true, then look, it's all in caps. Cool. The nice thing about this attribute is that I don't have to go and change the text, like, oh, the possibility to capitalize everything. Instead, I can leave the text as is, and all I need to do is just toggle this attribute to change it from true to false. Now it's your turn to practice. Being able to look at documentation and then update your code accordingly to try it out is a really useful skill to have. That means you don't have to memorize everything you could possibly ever want to do in Android. It's only a Google search away, and you can find it when you need it. So first, I want you to Google search for TextView Android to find the reference documentation for TextView. Then I want you to use the Find feature in your web browser to search the page for the XML attribute that makes the TextView text bold or italic. We haven't covered this XML attribute before, so this is an opportunity for you to learn it on your own. Once you find something that might work, go ahead and try to use it. If that doesn't work, then no problem at all. Just keep going back to the documentation until you find the one that works.
All right. So we have these wonderful sets of documentation, and these have gotten habitually so much better. If you look at how to do inflations in a lot of other languages and a lot of other things, you don't have near as many helper tools, and you don't have near as many interesting examples. So let's say if you're a web developer, you've ever written web code, you might use a CSS package, right? So CSS gives you stylings, things like that. But now you have to look up the parameters for that specific CSS package, right? That you wanted to use, that you were trying to use to help you. So what's really nice is that Android has built essentially the most giant CSS package to allow for a bunch of different styles, allow you to be able to customize them and save them. Now, when we talk about these text views, and we're citing something here called, when we're looking at bold and not bold, so there's a lot of nice things for that. So let's say you made some piece of reusable code that somebody else was going to put in their own text, like a text that updated. But you wanted it to be something that always the titles of your email. So later you're going to put an email together, right? For the coffee order system. I want the title of that email to always remain bold regardless of whatever the user types in. Instead of me having to take that, say, oh, is this lowercase, and then rewrite it in some code fashion, I can just say, oh no, I want all of that to be bold. And I want it to appear as bold, and then when I send it, I want it to also be bold. Right? So that's pretty convenient. And now when we talk about bold and italic, sorry, not bold, all caps. I apologize, that was my mistake. It's getting late, right? It's a little bit past 9, we were hoping to finish a little bit sooner. So what your task is for the next week is to run through some of these videos again that you had a little bit trouble going over. I know that this was a lot of content relatively quickly, right? We tried to pace through it, but if you had a stumbling, we had to keep going forward. So feel free to let me know if you guys have any questions. And I will be sending extra code examples and things for you guys to work on during the week. And then there'll also be a certain amount of practice stuff through the Udacity link that you guys got earlier for the course that we, I'll say, go through these practice sections because we didn't fully finish all of section 1. There's 3 sections. There's an A and a B for each. So section 1A is by far the longest. I can tell you that. So we'll get through 1B and 2A in the next class, or at least we'll try to. So, all right, everybody's tired. I know it's a little bit late, but congratulations, you've made it the first step. You guys know how to make text. You know how to put background colors and text types, text sizes, and adjust for screen sizes and user preferences all in a couple of hours. You've made things on a screen. Woo! Come on, guys, the blinky light. There's the thing when you first make the light blink, right? Except now you can actually build it, and it can be something that you can give to somebody, but not just one person because it's code. You can give it to hundreds of people, right? So, all right, we're all done. Everybody wins. Yay! Stopping.